Hi, my name is Kelvin Newman and welcome to the Brighton SEO podcast, where we share talks from one of the world's most popular search and marketing conferences. The event started out as a few people meeting in an upstairs room of a pub and is now attended by over 3,000 people from all over the world. This episode is a recording of one of the speakers at a recent event.
So next up, we have Ric Rodriguez, who's going to talk to you about an SEO guide to using JavaScript.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I'm here today to talk about the SEO's guide to JavaScript. So why did I choose JavaScript as my topic? Well, not only is it a hot topic in the industry at the moment, it's one that we as SEOs haven't really embraced properly yet. And this is because, in my view, it's something that's always portrayed as particularly complicated or particularly intimidating, but it really needn't be. So what we'll do today is go through the basics, look at why it's a problem, look at what it's used for, why we use it, how we use it, etc., and then have a think about what as SEOs we can do to optimize and improve when we come up against it. So a little bit about who I am. I'm Ric Rodriguez. I'm Senior SEO Manager at Croud. And I got into SEO via digital PR. So I'm probably the least technical SEO you'll ever meet. And I'm here talking to you about JavaScript. It's a bit weird. In the last 2 years, I've been learning, teaching myself how to do technical SEO. And the way I've been learning is taking these really quite difficult and complex sort of ideas and breaking them down into their sort of core fundamental components. And I did this for JavaScript, thought it was interesting, spoke to Kelvin, he said, why not come and talk about it at Brighton SEO? So let's start right at the beginning. JavaScript is a programming language, and it's something that is being used way more than it ever has done. But it has fundamentally been a big issue for SEO, and you know, it's one of these things where for years we sort of, you know, you're asked by devs, do you want to do some JavaScript? And we say, no, definitely don't do that. Though you'll lose all of your rankings, all your traffic, it's a problem. And that's because of this thing called asynchronicity. So unlike other sort of language and other elements, JavaScript elements load asynchronously, which means they have the ability to run simultaneously to other processes on the page and have the ability to sort of not need to follow this logical order of processes. When a page loads, for example, Googlebot can start at the beginning when the request's being made and go through to the render and know that that's a consistent process and find key points and sort of signposts as it goes. When you look at a JavaScript page, that still happens, but most of the stuff that the users see, i.e. the bit we want to get indexed and crawled, is executed after. So I talked earlier about learning things and bringing them down to the key fundamental point. If you only remember one thing from today, it should be this. The reason why JavaScript is a problem for SEO is because Google often isn't around to see it execute. And basically, if it's not there to see it execute, it cannot know it happened in the first place. OK, sounds like a problem, right? So why do we actually use JavaScript? What is the point of it? Well, it's really fast. Because of the fact that it doesn't rely on other resources and can load simultaneously to other things, it's really fast. It's really quick. It's ubiquitous, both in the sense that people are using it a lot more than they ever have done, and in the sense that now, where in, you know, in the mid-noughties, people were using it for little elements on the page, people are now building entire mobile apps out of it, and they're building entire websites as well. It's engaging. I mean, static HTML content, you have to rely on the content being really great and rely on the user reading it. With JavaScript, you can have menus that drop down and pop-ups and all these cool things that you can't do with static HTML content. And it's definitely here to stay. This is you know, a developing technology and something that more and more people are using. For us, this means we absolutely need to know it. And I put a tweet up from John Mueller. The point is, it's not this old school thing where SEOs should be saying, SEOs now shouldn't be saying to their devs, shouldn't be using JavaScript, or can we just not use JavaScript anymore? We should be embracing this modern reality. It's better for the user to use a more engaging format, and as SEOs, we shouldn't be the blocker to that. So how actually is it used? So you'll see it in really two main forms as SEOs. The first is to enhance parts of a page, so individual specific elements, drop-down menus, however it might be. But we've gone one step further than that now. We are now optimizing the whole page and building whole pages and even bits behind the page in JavaScript. And that can look something like this. This is an MVC framework. The point is, where you may have used other languages to build components, now we are building the whole thing in JavaScript. That means your entire stack, your entire website could be built in a language that theoretically Google or other crawlers cannot read. So I think we should bring this back to this key point, which is that if Google isn't around to see it, how can it know it exists? And we talk a lot about things. I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords around JavaScript at the moment. We talk about frameworks. We talk about words like Express, Node, React, Angular. And they're all very, very important to developers and very, very important ways of applying JavaScript. They all have different functions and different use cases. As SEOs, we really shouldn't worry. The fact that we see Angular versus React to us, yeah, it has nuances, it has differences. But the fact is, if for whatever reason, whatever the JavaScript is executes after that point which Google switches off, Google ain't going to see it. And that's a problem from our perspective. So no matter the format your JavaScript comes packaged up in, whether it's an item on the page or it is just the whole stack or framework, doesn't matter. The fundamentals stay the same. If Google cannot see it, if it's not there to see the event happen, doesn't know it exists. So that might have been a little bit techie. That might have been, I don't know. But this is sort of the part where we go through what you should actually do. And if you forget everything else, this is the one bit to take as a key takeaway. So, first major thing you should do as an SEO when using JavaScript, audit the site using inspect element. So when you're trying to find out if a page has your meta description or if it has a title or a canonical tag or whatever that might be, don't just do a Control-U and look in the source code, because 9 out of 10 times the source code won't be full. It will only have the bare bones. You need to go into the page once it's loaded and see what's actually there. And you can do that using a right-click inspect element and a control find for the element you're looking at. But that doesn't mean that Google can see it. That just means that you can and that you can see what's there. And one of the things that Google used to recommend as part of the sort of how we deal or how you should deal with JavaScript as SEO is to use this thing called server-side rendering. So particularly when you're building whole pages and whole sites in JavaScript, you should think about ways to show Google the key information in a way that it's used to. Now, Google is getting a lot better at understanding JavaScript and being around for that, but other engines, Bing, Yandex, Baidu, they're not. If you're doing any sort of international SEO at all, you've got to look at your server-side rendering. Or more simply, store a version of the page written with all of the main elements in HTML for Google on the server. Now, this doesn't mean that you're cloaking, because you're still showing the same information to crawlers as you are to your users. You're just making sure that they have access to all of the key elements at the time when they need it, rather than making them do the hard work. The next thing to really think about is to have clearly defined pages. The first thing that happens with JavaScript, particularly when you're building in these new frameworks, is users can click different links, but that doesn't actually mean that the URL refreshes. And what that means for crawlers as well is that they can't see you have different pages. So number one reason as to why your site might not be indexed in JavaScript is because Google doesn't know that your site is more than one page. You can use things like escape fragments and various different ways to do this, but it's really important that whenever you use JavaScript for your site, you're really thinking about this. A bit of a side note, but a very important one, check your analytics as well. If Google can't understand that there are different pages, maybe your analytics tagging isn't set up to define the pages either. So it might be that you're seeing rankings massively increase, and you can't work out why you're not getting any traffic. Well, it might be that your analytics tags on the individual pages that are ranking aren't firing, and that's sort of showing you that all of your traffic is going to, for example, your homepage instead. And the real key point is, JavaScript is becoming more and more interesting. You can do more and more cool things with it, and it's a very exciting sort of place to be in. But really, we should still only be using JavaScript when it's absolutely needed. So for example, if you're building a questionnaire on your website and you need to use JavaScript, well, think about it this way. You wouldn't want a user to land on page 5 of your 10-question questionnaire. So you're fine to use JavaScript. And it doesn't matter if Google can read it, because it's not designed to be indexed in the first place. But if you're creating a blog post, which you're creating for SEO value, and you need to deliver that as a static page, write it in HTML. There's no sense in writing it in JavaScript, or unless there is sort of a real sort of definite need for speed reasons to do it, just don't do it. Keep it nice and simple for Google and only use it when it's needed. So some final thoughts. As SEOs, we should absolutely be embracing JavaScript. It's faster, it's better, it's here to stay, and really we have got to get used to it and need to know it. But bring it back to this core fundamental point, which is, remember, it doesn't matter how you see it. If Google isn't around to see the element execute, you can't know it's there. Thanks ever so much. Tweet me any questions.
This was originally recorded at a Brighton SEO conference. If you want to listen to more episodes or find out about the conference itself, you can do at brightonseo.com.